Hello everybody, Cal here. So I'm super excited. Today is my birthday, and Duelyst gave me a very good birthday present. And obviously, I didn't get gold or anything like that. Um, what happened was, you know how I just mentioned in the last video how I have a Don't Fear Mechazor series. The main problem with that is it really relies on me laddering and running into a decent Mechazor match so that I can show you a really good game involving Mechazor and how to handle Mechazor. Um, and Abyssian, in my opinion, is one of the classes that has the hardest time dealing with Mechazor, since you don't have an AoE silence. You kind of just have to run minions into it, or try to endure the damage. And I got the perfect replay for Abyssian Don't Fear Mechazor. So really fast, we're going to jump into the class, and we're talking about the tools we have. I'm going to turn this on just in case I don't have a card to deal with Mechazor. So obviously, looking here, since Mechazor is immune to spells, we can't demonic lure and move Mechazor where we want it to be. We don't really have a lot of good ways to deal with Mechazor that don't involve us already having lots of things on the battlefield, like Shadow Reflection, Soul Shatter Pact. Things like this are the best way we have to deal with him. Obviously, Night Star Assassin can't target it. There's just nothing here, right, that just flat out kills Mechazor. So, as Abyssian, when you're dealing with Mechazor, you really want to make sure that you have a lot of stuff on the board and that you're constantly playing threats, so that your Mechazor opponent is forced to decide: do they want to just ignore your board and hit you for 8 damage, or do they want to spend their time with Mechazor shooting your board, shooting minions you have on the battlefield that are threatening them, and then allowing you more time to try to find a way to deal with Mechazor. Mechazor decks generally seem to be kind of do damage to the opponent and take them out. And that is exactly what this opponent did. And so I'm going to go ahead and jump into the replay. Oh, but real fast, before I do that, this is a minion that most of you probably already know of. I don't know if I have him or not. I don't have him. So, Crossbones. Crossbones is sadly Abyssian's best answer to Mechazor, because its opening gambit is destroy an enemy minion with ranged. As we all know, Mechazor is a ranged frenzy, immune to spells, with airdrop. So, the fact that Crossbones is our best response to Mechazor as Abyssian, it really means that we have to pick our... What am I trying to say? Unless Mechazor is super prominent in the meta, you're probably not running Crossbones. So you need to go with what I was saying earlier and work on having a good board state and lots of threats to your opponent. So I'm going to go ahead and cut to a replay and then kind of walk you through my strategy of dealing with Mechazor and why I made the decisions I made. Okay, so here we are in the replay. We're fighting Dingles. This was Abyssian versus Abyssian. No matter what faction you're fighting against, the Mechazor deck is going to be the same kind of core units. Obviously, all the Mechazor minions except for the big 5/4 and other stuff like that. So you don't need to... you can usually kind of figure out what to expect. Just expect the class you're fighting against. Expect their strongest class cards, usually their most aggressive ones, and then the Mechazor minions and Mechazor itself. And you can usually tell immediately if it's a Mechazor deck or not. So instantly I know it's a Mechazor deck. I sadly am not drawing very well, but I want to make sure I kill this since it does have Frenzy. And it's a 3/3, so we can deal with all of our early game minions. And of course, as you know, with this deck, this is Liquid Kitten's Big Abyssian, the deck I did a deck tech on recently. I've been using it to ladder up in the new season. You know, so we're very board focused, and we can't let her have any minions on the battlefield. And again, as you can see, running things like Dream Gazers and stuff like that, their plan is to get a bunch of stuff on the battlefield, and start killing you early, and then Mechazor is kind of the finisher. So she's going to go really aggressive here. You know, she's going to throw the the Iraqi headhunter behind her so that I can't just walk over and kill it with the mini Jaxes shooting it and me. And since all of the Mechazor minions have opening gambit, it's going to allow her. Let me pause real fast. It's going to allow this to start getting bigger and bigger. Now here my goal is just to do as much damage to her artifact as possible, so that she wouldn't have its regenerative properties. Since I couldn't kill this, I didn't really have a reason to just shoot it, because if I shot it and it went down to 2 health and then it walked up and hit it, it still had 1 health. It's not really great. The reason why I threw down Bloodmoon Priestess, like I said, we don't really have a good way to deal with Mechazor besides having a board state. And so if I'm going to be able to defeat her, I need to start getting lots of stuff on the board to start causing her problems, so that she's going to be forced to deal with what I have on the board instead of just attacking my face. Granted, this isn't super threatening. That isn't when I said GLA Jeff, that's very delayed. Granted, Wraithlings aren't super threatening by themselves, but with the Shadow Dancers and stuff like that, they give us the ability to make things that are threatening for her to deal with. Cannon Mechazor, of course. And again, you want to make sure when you're fighting a Mechazor deck that you're killing all of the minions so that they don't start to build up. Because even though the Mechazor minions are generally pretty weak, at the same time, it's kind of like how Vanar just throw out tons of little minions, but you get overwhelmed. You want to not let that happen. Now here, of course, I can just use Wraithlings to break her artifact, which is fantastic. I moved my priestess back because I need her right now. She's what's helping me stay in the game, and my goal is to move up here and just kill as much of her stuff as possible. Oops. Take all these things out, sacrifice a Wraithling, kill the big threat. And that's it. I mean, the Iraqi headhunters are probably one of the biggest threats besides Mechazor itself that you're going to run into. Generally, the classes that I see run Mechazor are either Songhai or Abyssian or Vanar. You know, the classes that have lots of control-y abilities to just remove your stuff or to play things out real fast. So those are the 3 top culprits, I would say. Anything that can do face damage to you really fast and or protect their minions is what you're going to see. Now, luckily, we're really a lot of Wraithlings. The only problem is I might have moved back a little too far, because now the Wraithlings would take 2 turns to get to where I need them to be. As you can see here, also you need to... So okay. As you can see, yeah, we're on 6 mana, but Mechazor comes out real quick. It only takes 5 minions, and since they only cost, like 2-3 mana, it's not impossible for Mechazor to come out on like, turn 3, I think this is basically, for her. Yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I guess it took 4 turns. But if you look at the board state, what are we going to do? We don't really have a lot to deal with Mechazor. So the main thing here is I need to make sure that I'm threatening her. I know I keep saying that over and over and over again. You just want to keep just throwing stuff on the board to make sure that the Mechazor player is forced to react to what you're doing with Mechazor. So as Abyssian, your number 1 thing is you want to distract Mechazor. Just... I don't know why I was thinking here so hard. Black Solus is very tempting to throw out, since he would be a big target, but since I'm down to 16 health, and that's only 2 Mechazor hits, and Abyssian Mechazor decks usually run like Void Pulse and anything that just does damage to you, I definitely didn't want to be throwing myself into it. Also, remember, Mechazor has Frenzy, which means if I had played minions around Mechazor, Mechazor could have killed all of them. It would have taken retaliation damage, but they all would have died. So by moving my minions up here, it's forcing her to use the range of Mechazor to deal with minions. Because again, she can die. She is a general too. It doesn't matter how much damage I've taken if my board state starts to threaten her. So as Abyssian, you want to threaten the opponent's general to the point that they are forced to rely on Mechazor to protect themselves. And I know that that's not a very, I'm trying to think of the word. It's not a very comforting plan, but it's what you got to do. I'm not gonna lie, dealing with Mechazor is pretty rough as an Abyssian. So here I'm gonna go ahead and mulligan. I think the Black Solace because it's just not useful. And luckily we draw our second Rejuvenator. That's another thing I gotta say, is Mechazor as Abyssian, you definitely are going to be relying on any and all healing you have to keep you in the game, 100%. So here, obviously, I just kind of want to break her artifact. And I decided here to play my second Rejuvenator. I play it kind of far away because I want to make sure that Mechazor, again, doesn't get any good frenzy value. I'm splitting up my minions a little bit, just so if she does deal with stuff, I have a good area to summon things. I can kind of summon anywhere I want at the moment. And again, you see I'm dropping minions, and while I only have 16 health, it's probably going to be really tempting for her to shoot me for 8, hit me for 3, and then try to burn me out with spells or kill me with Mechazor the next turn. Because I'm threatening the general by surrounding her with minions, even though a lot of them are just Wraithlings, Mechazor's shots are most likely going to be either hitting my minions or moving forward and frenzying, which then also damages Mechazor. So I'm going to reiterate, I'm sorry if I copy myself a lot, or if I say the same thing over and over. It's mainly because, sadly, the way to deal with Mechazor as Abyssian is really simple, and that is threaten the enemy general and force them to use Mechazor to protect themselves. That's just what you have to do. It's very simple. You want to make sure that you keep your healing in your hand, and you want to keep anything that can heal you in your hand. And you want to cast it whenever possible, because Mechazor decks, their goal is to kill you with damage. Now, we can't kill Mechazor this turn, so of course I need to make sure I heal. So I'm going to go ahead and play the Shadow Dancer. Shadow Dancers are fantastic. Just start killing stuff. The reason why I assassinated that instead of just running Wraithlings into it is because I want to make sure I preserve as much on the board as I can. Again, because our goal is to threaten her. You also usually want to try to deal damage to Mechazor when you can afford it. So I'm going to hit Mechazor for 4 with this Rejuvenator, because it's not only going to proc the Shadow Dancer, but it's also going to make Mechazor low enough that hopefully I can deal with Mechazor sometime soon. Mechazor, just in case you don't know, Mechazor can only be summoned one time. So even if the Mechazor opponent plays 5 more parts of Mechazor, they won't actually trigger a second Mechazor spawn. And my goal here was just to get enough health that I wouldn't die to Mechazor just shooting me, and to move away from my opponent so that she couldn't just play rush minions. I'm still in range of rush minions, sadly. And again, you can see how close this is. It's almost... Mechazor is, I would say, the worst matchup for Abyssian. The only other class that struggles with Mechazor a lot would be like Songhai. But the Songhai decks, because they run so much spell burn, which they can't do anything about that. Again, you see, even though I was low on health, I'm threatening the general so much that she's forced to use Mechazor in a way that she doesn't want to. She doesn't want Mechazor taking damage. She doesn't want to be triggering my Shadow Dancer. But you just, because of the swarm of things I have around her, and the fact that I've been attacking her so aggressively, and basically not respecting Mechazor, that this is now the end of the game. Because I'll do 4 damage to her with this. So that is, sadly at the moment, other than sticking a Crossbones in your deck, the best way to deal with it. I would definitely say if you're a new player and you don't have a huge collection, it's really worth it to invest into a single Crossbones, if you're running into Mechazor, because Crossbones just kills Mechazor outright, and that's usually almost guaranteed victory as long as the rest of the game is going okay. But just remember, you want to control their minions, kill them whenever you can. You want to threaten the general, and you want to have a very large board state. And that's about all I can say about dealing with Mechazor's Abyssian. So sorry that there isn't like a you just have this card and bow, Mechazor is dead. You know, we don't have like Sunbloom, which would silence Mechazor and just make it a vanilla 8/8. We don't have Chromatic Cold, which does the same thing. Um, we don't have Metamorphosis like Magmar. So just don't fear Mechazor, but respect it. I hope that helped somewhat. Again, I'm sorry there wasn't a cure all, but that's about the best I can do. I'll see you guys in the next video.